now. The reality is the kids and the teachers are struggling with it because it's not something that any of them have ever experienced before. It's not something the teachers were trained for. And to suggest that the training that we had time to do over the summer or this fall and a few days here and a few classes there would get them ready for this kind of a change, it's not reasonable to expect our teachers to be able to do as well what they did pre-COVID to do that in that format now. One of the things that I hear from people that's a negative as well, they're not spending all day in front of the computer like they spend all day at school. I hope there's no one on that stage right now that thinks we should have kids in front of their screens for 7 or 8 hours a day. Because nobody does that in any job. It's not something we'd ask our kids to do, and it's just not doable. The last thing I'll add to the report about what's happening here is when the teachers are gone, as today we had, I believe, 3 teachers out. Their students report to the Commons. There are online assignments for them to do. One of the teachers who was gone today is on a 2-week quarantine from close contact, and so those kids for 2 weeks will report to the Commons. It is less than ideal. I'll be the first one to admit that, but we have 0 subs available. If all the kids come back, as was requested earlier, at whatever date, that's probably going to get worse because we still won't have any subs for us. And if we have a spike because we bring everybody back, we'll have more kids in the Commons.
We have absolutely no teaching subs for when you have a teacher out for 2 weeks that can't come in and teach those classes. We have no subs.
That's what I'm being told by the sub-caller, yes. I have a few comments I'd like to make if you would allow it.
Sure.
Just based on a couple things that have been said tonight or some things that are getting back to me, and as we all do, people talk and people say certain things, and just a few comments I want to make, especially in behalf of the teachers, because I think they're doing such a fantastic job. And one of the first things that's being said out there is that the teachers don't want to do their job. They want to go to a virtual format because they don't want to do their job. They're not teaching. The kids are ice fishing. The kids are playing video games, and that's going to lead to them being behind. And how are we going to get them caught up and all this other stuff? Let me assure you, let me make this 100% clear. The teachers are teaching and the kids are learning at every level in this district. You should be proud of the teachers that are out there doing the job that they're doing, because what they're doing is at the very least inspirational on how well they're doing it. These kids are meeting the learning targets that the curriculum asks them to meet. It looks completely different than it ever has, and that's really, really scary for most people. It's uncomfortable because it's not the same as what they've had. Nothing is the same as what we've done, okay? But these kids are learning. They're getting the things that they need. Have we cut content? Absolutely. And for one, I raise my hands in a Hosanna moment when we cut some content, because less is more. We try to cover too many things. And what we all learned, those of us who are old like me, we learned a lot of things that we couldn't just look up on Google. Well, now we're telling our teachers, don't tell your kids things that they can look up on Google. You're wasting their time. Okay? They're cutting back. When we went to some virtual classes in the spring, we said this: take the curriculum that you think you should cover in this allotted time, cut it in half. And then come back 2 days after that and cut it in half again. And cover the most important things. And Linda can give us all sorts of data and information from the curriculum that she's done such a great job creating for this district. But those learning targets and those most essential things, they're being met, folks. And don't let people out there turn your head against your teachers and think that they're not being met. Okay, this concept that the kids are behind, who are they behind? Okay? Who are our kids behind? The entire country, the entire world is going through this pandemic right now. They're all at the same point. They're not covering the same things. What are they behind would be my next question. The what is, well, it's an arbitrary finish line that we've created in order to prepare our kids for standardized tests, which are forced upon us by the state and federal government, so that we can have a report card that was mentioned earlier, which can be put in the paper and we can compare ourselves to that. Okay, I, for one, won't stand here and tell you that report card is all that important. What's important is that these teachers know your kids, and they're teaching them what's really important for the next step in their lives. Okay, so they're not behind anybody. They're not behind any finish line, okay? What everybody wants to get back to, and we have to understand this, everybody wants to get back to the normal that we had pre-COVID, right? And we're looking at that menu up there on the wall, and guess what? Pre-COVID normalcy isn't on the menu. Okay? The McRib's not coming back, folks. I don't care how many people vote for it. We're never going back to what we had. And we need to understand and lean into that uncomfortable feeling that we all have about how this is so different. And then embrace it and say, what are we learning from it? And where can we take it with these kids? Okay? It was mentioned that we want to come back February 1st for the high school. I can tell you this from the high school standpoint. If you bring all the kids back, we can't socially distance them. We don't have 6 feet if we bring back all of our kids. Furthermore, we won't bring back all of our kids. We're at 25 to 28% virtual. Some of those kids are still going to stay out there. So our teachers at the high school will still be teaching multiple groups of kids because we don't have dedicated teachers at the high school level because our kids don't stay together all day. All right? These kids, all of them are moving around all day long. If I'm at the other level, and please understand, this isn't a knock at the other level. This is just different. And what we need to understand is that we need to treat these teachers at these different levels and the kids differently. Our kids don't stay in one place. They switch classes 7 times. And so some of our teachers can be exposed. If you bring them all back, they'll be exposed to 100 different kids who are much more mobile when they leave here. Okay? So that exposure for the teachers at the high school is a pretty scary thing. Okay? And we have to finally look at why, the question was asked earlier, what's the justification for keeping them out? And I would look at that and say that's a simple cause and effect question. It's a learning opportunity here. It's a teachable moment. The effect that we have right now at the high school is we haven't had to shut down. Okay? We're making it work. We don't have this spike in cases and whatnot. So we have to ask, what's the cause of that? Because if there's an effect, there has to be a cause. That's how it works in the world. It's just simple science. There's a cause and there's an effect. You know what the cause is? The cause is kids aren't getting the COVID virus because they were the first, and now they are the most quarantined group of people we have. Okay? That's the cause and that's effect. So if we're going to acknowledge the effect is they're not getting it, you have to acknowledge the cause, and the cause is because we're mitigating the circumstances. Ask the teachers how quiet it is when they give a test right now. This time of year, typically a teacher gives a test, and there's coughing, and there's sneezing, and there's all these things that come with the flu season and whatever else, right? Why aren't we having these spikes? Because we're wearing masks. It's a cause and effect. So the justification to keep us in the format that we're in is because it's working. And if we change that and bring them all back, will that cause change the effect? So I'm going to ask you as I leave here, on behalf of the students and the staff, is leave us in the hybrid until we can get those vaccines rolled out and get people ready to do that.